recorder there. Call the meeting to order. All those who can, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
We are all here except for Mr. Howe.
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda.
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. Moved and supported. A vote, please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, consent agenda approval.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have one comment on the minutes that how I changed actually. I don't know if you want to take them out of the consent agenda or
Either way.
just hear it now.
Well, here it now. Might as well.
So on page, well, the minutes aren't numbered, but it's page 9 of the agenda. Under item B, it says the board confirmed its intention to proceed, and I don't think the whole board was in agreement. I know it wasn't because I'm not, and so I would like the minutes to reflect that.
So are
Like
you
the majority
in,
of the board or whatever, but it was not the whole board.
you're in new business or
New
what
business.
section?
Business.
I'm sorry, what?
New business.
New business, section B. The board confirmed their intention to proceed with construction on both stations.
So the
Instead of
majority
that,
the board. You
The
can put-
majority,
Yeah,
the majority, okay,
but it was not the whole board.
of the, so the three words, majority of the, will be inserted before board.
What item are you on there?
Good with that?
Under new business, item B.
Item B.
So, let's see, we had a motion from Judy to accept consent agenda. Do you wanna make
With-
it as?
With amendments.
with-
Yep.
Do we need a second?
Support.
Okay, moved and supported.
All right. Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
That was a good catch. Vote, so there was no way to tell, so that it was more inferred unanimous versus bleh, spit that one out. Okay, announcements and information inquiry. Township office will be closed January 20th in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And next item is number 7, public comment. Anybody have any public comment?
I have
Mary
some.
Pat does.
Couple of things. I wanted to mention that Church of the Holy Spirit is offering a presentation on Wednesday, January 8th at 6:30 on social media and human trafficking. And they welcome all the community to learn about these issues. One of the facts they said in the article is the majority of trafficking victims begin at age 14, and awareness is the key. So if anybody, everyone is welcome to come to that. And the other thing I wanted to say to all the people in the audience, I thought maybe we'd have kids tonight. As you're aware, 2020 is an election year, and all of us, our terms will be up and have to run for re-election. And I've enjoyed representing the community as a trustee for the past 15 years, but I will not be seeking re-election. And I'm telling everyone this so that you or someone you know may consider running for a trustee. It is not too early to think about this because, and I'm sure Tammy can help people with this, dates that you have to file by 4 o'clock on Tuesday, April 21st. So that's really not that far out. So I'm hoping people will maybe come to the meetings, attend it, see what's going on, and consider the position. Thank you.
Could you be forced into it?
My opinion, you can't do that.
I can't do what?
What you
No?
just said you were gonna do.
You can't not run.
Oh,
That's a double negative.
Well, I'd like to make a public comment that we appreciate everything that you've done for Highland Township, and it's hard to believe that 15 years, I'm sure that went by extremely fast. And I'll bet that her husband wants to get some spare time with her so that when they go camping, they don't have to be thinking about being home on these dates. And so thank you very much for your service. And
yeah, ways to go.
all right, any other public comment? Okay, we'll move on. The next item is pending business, and this is a reintroduction of a proposed ordinance 469 to amend Chapter 7 of the Highland Township Code to add a new Article 5, rental certification ordinance requiring and providing for the registration, inspection, and certification of residential rental housing in the township, and to provide enforcement and appeal procedures and penalties for violations of this ordinance. So, as I said, it's a reintroduction, and so we just need to, I guess, just have a board a motion to.
Move to reintroduce the ordinance, and what I provided to you tracked changes from what you introduced, and it was limited to expanding the coverage of this program to rental mobile homes. If you recall, when it was introduced, there was some discussion about whether we could do that, and I was satisfied that we could, and provided to the board, and I think it's in the packets, the Michigan statute from the Mobile Home Commission Act that recognizes that as part of a rental program, a municipality may, by ordinance, inspect mobile homes so long as it applies those to any other rental properties. So that's what this would do. And I believe the fire marshal was wanting to do that.
Okay, I'll make my introduction of the reintroduction of the motion. So it's a motion to reintroduce proposal 469.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Let's see. I vote yes.
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 Motion carries.
All right, new business, item 9A. Motion resolution 20-01, 2020, poverty exemption income guidelines and asset test. Entertain a motion?
I would move to approve resolution 20-01 for the 2020 poverty exemption income guidelines and asset test.
Support, anybody?
Support.
Okay, moved and
Any
supported.
question on that? Judy, did that change any? Did any of those numbers change?
I'm sure it went up. I think that we just used boilerplate of the county,
Okay.
so I'm sure it's gone up a little bit, probably the rate of inflation.
Talk about the maximum income.
Yeah, the maximums have gone up a little bit, yep.
Okay, it's moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Savia?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, item 9B. We can make this a quick evening. I'll just make the motion to approve resolution 20-02 Highland Township fee schedule for 2020.
Support?
Okay, moved and supported.
I have a question on that also. Are those fees changed? Did we up those,
Yes,
all of them or some of them?
Some.
Or just the building? Do you?
mostly the building. There's been some changes in quite a few of them, but all within the guidelines we've used in the past, which is the consumer price index, I believe is what the numbers were, but
The 2020 CPI is 1.9%, so it's just under 2%. So I think most of the building stuff went up 1.9%.
That's the amount that you put on all of the fees for the building inspection
Right.
and stuff, right?
And in terms of communities around us, we're still on the low side for those fees, which isn't a bad thing for the builders and people in the community that are trying to do business with us. You know, you want to be as fair as possible, so. All right, vote please.
Mrs. McDonald?
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yeah.
Motion carries.
Okay, item, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 20-03 to change the composition of the planning commission from 9 members to 7 members. And let me get to that one there so we can.
It's page 100, if that helps.
So what, the rationale behind it is every month I meet with 15 or more township supervisors, and we got talking about planning commissions, how do you get, and other commissions and boards. And one of the things that has happened in Highland for some time is that when you have 9, our current planning commission has 9 members. And when you've got 9 members, it's pretty easy to have a couple of people miss and still have what would you call it? A quorum. But that also allows for some ease of, if an individual feels that they've got something more important, to just make the decision, well, probably, you know, there'll be a quorum, so it's not as important. And I think that it's not that they're trying to shirk their duty in any particular way, but what it does do is just about every meeting you have to go, I wonder if we're gonna have a quorum tonight. So what, in the discussions that I had with other supervisors, was that when you've got 7, every single one of them is important. So it makes it mentally one of those things where, well, I'm one of 7, not one of 9. If I don't show up, that can cause some issues, more serious issues, by maybe not having a quorum. 2 don't show up, and you're really doing a disservice to the people that you're having in front of you. And more often than not, you would prefer to have all of the planning commissioners present when they make a decision on a project that you're working on, and to have 9 be the number and 1 or 2 not show up, then you're really not getting a fair representation of what the planning commission is trying to say back to you. So therefore, the game plan is, we've also got a couple of people that are going to be up for, their term is up in March, and so it'll make it easier to carry that process through, instead of having to go find somebody to replace them, or, you know, if you want somebody to, and you do kind of sometimes want to have your planning commission turnover. You don't want to turn over too much, because it's nice to have that background. But we've had planning commissioners that have been on there for, I don't know how many years Roscoe's been on there, but
Yeah, but those are also the ones that come all the time.
yeah, and I have no problem with that.
You know, I'm sorry, what you finished.
No, so anyways, that's the history behind the position on that, and
I think it's a more fair representation of the community, and that's what that planning commission is supposed to be. It's supposed to be somebody from all different areas of the township, and I think 9, where it might be a large number, is still more fair for the community to be represented that way. And if you have members that aren't coming and aren't showing up, then you need to kick them off and get somebody who will take that serious. That's a very serious position. When I took minutes for the planning commission, which I did for, I don't even want to say how many years, it was very rare to have anybody absent ever. You know, so I don't know what's changed over the years, but because you get to interview them and pick who gets appointed, I think it's very important to stress to them how important that job is, and if they can't do it, then don't take it. You know, but to change the planning commission because you have some people that aren't coming is You know, now I don't think that's fair to the public.
That's your opinion, yes.
Well, in my opinion on this, because I've served on the planning commission, I think that it's great that we have 9 people rather than 7, because everybody has such diverse, you know, what they bring to the table and their opinions, and we have a discussion about it, and you know, we make mutual decisions that way, because I just enjoy the 9 people, and yeah, the ones that don't come, I don't understand that either. Why? I mean, why if you take it seriously and you're supposed to be there, you should be there. But I do prefer having 9. That's just my opinion.
What other feedback have you had from the other people on the planning commission? Have you surveyed their thoughts on 7
No, I haven't.
Okay, I mean, it might be something to see what they think, if they really feel comfortable with 9. Is it the same people missing the meetings all the time?
It's pretty much across the board. There's you know, I mean, there's those that have always shown up all the time. I mean, but I think part of it is I don't know what the deal is, why it's a lax attitude. I've had conversations about it in the past. You know, you guys need to.
Is there any like if you miss 3 meetings, you're out or anything like that? Do we have any standards in there? Let's say if you miss more than 3 meetings in a year, you're that way.
Well, if you're going to do that, then you might as well have 7 members and make sure that they're committed, as opposed to having 9 and wondering whether they're going to be committed.
Well, it'd be the same thing whether it's 7 or 9. You still want to.
It's not an easy task to find somebody to replace them. You want to make sure the people you have on that planning commission are the most committed people. And, you know, because somebody's, you know, I mean, there are people that have experience. Scott's here. He's had days where he hasn't been able to make it because of work-related things. And if we did something 3 meetings and you're out, I think half the planning commission would have been gone a long time ago.
Well, I don't know. I didn't know if there's a standard.
But it's, I think part of it is that if you, I could have brought the statistics. I didn't think I needed to give out all the names and numbers of how many times they've made it. But if the decision-making that, you know, Mary Pat's talking about having 9 members and you don't have 9 members there, then that doesn't follow through because you're not really communicating with 9 people. You've only got 7. And so the average times that we've had 7 members show up is much greater than having 9, and it's 9 or 8. I mean, I think that in just a matter of making it so that your decisions are maybe a little quicker, I don't think that it makes that much difference. It's a lot easier to just have 7 people and try and keep that filled than it is to try and find 9 people that are going to be committed. It's very difficult to get people to take those positions.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the more people that you have on any decision, the more well-rounded, more representative of the community that you're gonna have, right? So better decision. It takes longer to get there when you have 9 than 7 or 5 or whatever, or 1. But, you know, 9 is a big number. And I'm actually the chairman, and sometimes I can tell you that it's difficult, and Mary Pat, you're there too, right? I mean, we'll have conversations where there's one conversation happening at this end of the table, another conversation at this end of the table. It's not really a joint conversation. So, I mean, I see the validity of going either way, frankly. We do have probably a couple of individuals that have some work-related challenges that cause it, you know, cause a problem getting here, you know, as often as they should be. And sometimes that pulls us backwards a little bit because, you know, they might have missed a couple of meetings in a row, and then we're moving forward, and then they show up one time, and then we got to go back to the beginning and start over again, which is not fair to some of our applicants, right? To have them have to wait all the time. So, you know, we've been working on that.
Is the decision based on all 9 or a majority?
It's a majority.
Okay, so if
As long as you have a quorum, then you get the majority of the quorum. And oftentimes it's, you know, we have 5 members.
If somebody's not getting there, why do we need to go back and start all over again because somebody didn't show up?
No, just the conversation drives back to that, you know, so.
Okay.
And how many of the communities in Oakland County have 9-member board?
2 besides us.
So most communities have a 7-member board.
Yeah. 5 to 7. 5 is the minimum required, I think, by law. 7 is the standard. And those are communities, Troy, I mean, you're looking at larger communities, 7 board members. So to say that 9's gonna be more representative of the community, population negates that pretty much completely, because how does it relate to how many people are in the population? I think the key here is, you get 7 people, and you get 7 that are committed to it, then you're gonna see the stuff that happens in terms of, why are we here? We're here to help a process that is required by either ordinance or something where the public or the business community comes into our planning commission and is expecting some type of activity or results in a reasonable time frame. And the thing that we started with the One Stop Ready program was to make sure that what we're doing is as expeditious as possible for those that are making the investment in your community. That's the most fair thing to do. And I'm not saying the Planning Commission hasn't done that. In fact, they've done a much better job since we started the One Stop Ready program of seeing that, and actually I hear it expressed many times about One Stop Ready. So it's a mental thing that has changed it, but I think that in reality, 7 board members can sit down and probably hammer things out just as well or better than to have 9.
I would add one more thing too, before you decide one way or the other. If it does shrink, there's history, there's some board members, as Mr. Hamel said, that has a lot of history, and it is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
They bring up things that we didn't, that's how we got to here. Oh, okay, now I understand better. So, 9 allows us to have that history sit here, which is very valuable.
When did we go to 9? I mean, I don't know when we went to 9. It's always been 9 from day one.
Since it became a charter township.
Okay.
Actually, before that.
And if we cut back, are you worried about losing somebody that's got that experience?
Well, I would be, if we do cut back, obviously you're gonna limit the number and you're gonna limit the history. I'd wanna be really careful of, how we did that, I'm not sure what the process would look like, but obviously, Eugene brings a ton of knowledge, and Roscoe brings tons of knowledge and history.
Yes, Gary.
Just a couple observations. I've worked in communities where they reduce the members on a board or commission when they have the authority, with a reason being inability to have willing applicants. I know some communities actually have a waiting list of people that have expressed an interest in serving on one or more boards or commissions. I don't know if you folks do that, but if you are in a situation where there's difficulty getting people to serve, and on the other side you have people that are on a board or a commission that aren't able to fulfill their responsibilities, it kind of puts the administration in a box. Okay, you don't want to remove somebody for not doing their job, because if you do that, you're going to have trouble filling the vacancy. I don't know if that's a force that is at work here, but it's something you may want to consider if it applies.
You probably hit the nail on the head in terms of why I even brought this up, is that part of it also goes back to when we took the planning consultants that we've had in the past and have been working with, kind of brought forward the comment that, you have these meetings and stuff, and you don't have a full planning commission there, and then and as Scott made the comment, they miss out on it, and then you come in. Any board that you have that happen with, the continuity then goes all to pieces, because you've now talking about old stuff that, quote, was decided upon. And so if you reopen everything to bring somebody else up to speed whose responsibility was to be at that meeting, then it's not fair to the rest of the board. It's also not fair to those people who are sitting in the public, on the other side of this table. So it's just I just think that it's worked for years, but in the entire time that I've been here, I've watched I've looked at the attendance, and I've talked to individuals who have been the biggest offenders, if you want to put it that way, and they tell me, oh, well, I'll improve, you know, it was a little, this happened or that happened, and it still goes on, but the other side of that is my feeling has been that they've added value, so don't throw them under the bus, because you also can't find replacements for them that maybe are as good at the mindset that they might have. And that's the other part, is you've got to understand who the individuals are in your community that you can go to and say, hey, that might have those skills that you want to help direct the community in terms of planning. And more often than not, they're very busy people. And so to get them to want to be a part of it, it's like, oh man, I don't know if I can make it every, well, if you can't give the point of view that you can make it every meeting, then that would be like me taking on this job and saying, well, I'll make it most of the time. It doesn't work. And so,
Is there anyone who has indicated they want to step down?
yeah,
Mary Pat,
One of
are
them.
you stepping down also then,
Well,
or not?
I will not be on it then because I'm the representative of the board on it.
Okay.
It would be another
so we'll have to
trustee.
have a board member that'll be on that, so.
But that's not until November.
Right.
So. Who are the two that are up in March?
It's
Steve.
Jeff Stander and Chris Gostick. So they're two that, you know, you'll have to look at them and say, okay, and Jeff, we've talked to both of them. Jeff said right from the get-go, he said, well, you know, my business has been such a way that I haven't been able to be attentive, and he's more than willing to step down. And
Is it Gastick or Temple?
It's Temple.
Temple?
Stander.
No, Gastick or Temple.
It was Temple, you said
I
earlier.
think Temple.
Temple's job has pulled them away quite a bit.
But you said earlier, I thought we were talking about Scott Temple and,
There's Scott. Well, there's multiple people that have the same attendance record. Let's put it that way. So, ironically, they're all three chairs on that end of the table. But in any event, they're all excellent people. And ironically, Jeff Stander, he filled a position because he was somebody who had come to the planning commission and felt that it wasn't. He didn't feel it was a fair shake, so to speak, of what happened to him. And I told him, well, you know, if you want to be a part of making sure that that doesn't happen again, then how about being on the planning commission? He took it willingly. But like all of us, we get things change in life. And another way to look at this is, how many board members do we have sitting here right now? 7. Do you think 9 would be any more efficient? I mean, it's, I don't think 9 or 7 to 9 is.
Efficiency isn't the word I would use. I mean, it's a better decision, I think, with more viewpoints, but it takes longer to make a decision. So I don't know if I would use efficiency as a
Well,
measuring stick.
difference of opinion, I guess.
Well, it's a lot more efficient just to have you there making decisions.
How many times do we operate without 9?
Most of
How
the
many
time.
times?
Most
do we
of the time.
operate?
Most of the time.
Most of the time. So we still get by, right? We could do a couple things. We could go ahead and reduce it to 7, or we could, if Scott thinks we need to keep 9, we could keep 9, and you still operate with the 7 you have. I would stop worrying about trying to bring people up to snuff if they can't attend the meeting. You know, you can forward the minutes to them, and here's your opportunity to get caught up, but, you know, we're not gonna start all over again because you weren't there. I don't think that's fair, like you said to the other people that are there. We're not gonna spend half hour bringing you up to snuff because you didn't show up.
If we leave it at 9, maybe we try to more aggressively go after the public and see who's interested in making an interview process with the people that are up, and I don't know.
If the quota was 9, and the 2 people that are.
Why aren't we trying to buck what everybody else in the Oakland County is already doing? There's a reason they don't have 9 people, because it's very difficult.
There's
To
a
make
reason
that
we
work.
do have 9, and it's for the diversity.
That's the old, it's always been that way. And I think it's time to look at it and say, take a different approach
But
to it.
that's a function of getting those, picking people that are committed to it, Joe.
Well, I understand. The question in front of us is, we obviously seem to be operating with 7 regardless, because we don't have 9 there all the time.
That's what
Is
it
that a fair
sounds like.
statement?
Something less than 9, yeah.
Okay. And so we're able to make decisions with those that are there. The 2 that are coming up, do they indicate a willingness, or do they want to drop out? Have they told you that they're not going to re-up or whatever?
Well, I told you Jeff Stannard already said that he's willing to drop out, which means that I'd have to find somebody that's gonna, so I'm gonna have to go, do I continue with people that are not going to show because they're already planning commissioners and they already have history? Or do you look for somebody that's new, has a fresh look at how the township is sitting, maybe even comes from a different community?
Do we have a requirement that we must have 9 because
No.
we say we have 9? Okay, so if he drops off, we're now operating with 8. And if somebody else quits, we're operating with 7.
So that's
You have to
why,
fill the vacancies.
what's that?
If you have a 9-member commission, you have to fill a vacancy.
Yeah,
Okay, that was the question.
Is there time limits to do that?
I believe there is, and I apologize that I can't tell you what it is tonight.
Because I was under the impression we were running that short for a long time anyway. Short on member. True, not true?
no, I've always had it, if we didn't have somebody, it was for a month, and that would have been one planning commission meeting. I made sure we had them filled, but I just think that I think it's a good idea to let's put it at 7, and I think we'll find that what the results are gonna be virtually identical to what we're doing now, except we don't have to deal with this problem. And like I said, it's pretty easy to go, well, when you got 9 people, one person can go, I got something that's more important. And that may be true.
What happens when you have 7 and one doesn't show up?
I think there's.
You still have a quorum,
You'll have
just like tonight.
Oh, okay, the quorum is just one less.
Right.
Okay.
With regard to the fact that it always had 9 people, times have changed a lot in the last 10 years where I found that, even getting together with friends, it's hard because, well, no, we have something this night. Well, we have something this night. We have something this night. And people are just a lot busier than they ever used to be before. And I think that may be affecting the availability of people who could be committed to attending, 24 meetings a year is a lot. And they're not short meetings generally, my understanding.
Well, there's been a lot of cancellations too.
Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna be going into master planning, so there won't be any cancellations now for probably 6 months, I would assume. Because there's a lot to do there. So this is at a kind of critical point for us, right? So.
And the other thing is that when you're doing that process, you want to have people there, and if they're not going to show, then it's, or every other time, then what they add to it is not value. It's a late comment or maybe a twist in it that they should have been at the meeting. So I just think that it's a time for a change, and I think that those that show up all the time have always showed up all the time, and they're still on the planning commission, and I've had opportunity to remove them and appoint somebody else, not remove them, but appoint new people, and I chose not to because of the history and that type of thing. And at the other end of it is those same people that have been on it for 30 to 50 years or whatever, don't always see the world as the new population might see it. And the population has changed. It's changing quite a bit. And so we need to be cognizant of that. And, if you get some new people on board, guess what? They don't have history. So it's a learning curve, and it's what happens is you have ordinances, and that's what the planning commission follows. So it's not like you have to learn, you've got the stuff that you create out of your head and throw it out, although we do create some stuff sometimes, but it's based on rules and regulations, so.
When do we have to have this finalized by?
We need to do something now, because otherwise I've gotta move forward and find somebody by the 1st of March, which is just a month away, and I haven't seen anybody, and I've been talking to people, and they're just not, people out there jumping up and down to take the job, and,
And none of the existing planning commission members have found any candidates in their back pocket. Okay,
I haven't had any recommendations made to me, so.
can we address Scott? Scott, so you feel you can operate effectively with 7?
I mean, you're gonna operate with the number that you have, like it's, stated at the beginning.
Okay.
The more people you have, I really believe the better the decision you get. It just takes longer to get there,
Yeah.
But you get a lot more diversity in the conversation, right? So, have people with history and, having a new person in here all the time is a good thing too, right? I mean, having history and having new and, creates a balance and a viewpoint from all directions, so. I mean, we run with 7 often because people don't show up, but, some of that is, probably going to the less committed individuals and say, hey, it doesn't seem like your heart's really in it, maybe we ought to look for somebody else.
Is it hard or awkward for you to run with this changing, commitment?
Well, it is, yeah, because you think that you're down the path, like I said before, and all of a sudden somebody stands up and says, I absolutely don't agree with this decision, and now you're like, hold on, we already went through this discussion.
Right.
You weren't here, you didn't see how we got from here to there. And
If we make a change, can we, a year from now, decide that 7 isn't good and go back to 9?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we have flexibility there.
Sure, that's,
I think
no
it's
doubt
important,
about it.
it's important that we listen to what Scott has said, because he's dealing with it all the time. And we don't want to put him in trouble if he thinks that he won't be able to function, because we'll have 9 diverse thought processes going on. But if they're not there, then you're still missing that piece of it. Are we gonna lose one anyway?
yeah, for sure.
And Mayor, I misunderstood now, when you're not renewing your opportunity to run as a trustee, are you gonna, would you be staying on as a planning commission person?
My position is, I'm the trustee that's on the
I
board, so.
understand that, but if you were, would you switch over then to being an individual to do
Well, that would have to be voted on.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm just looking at where you might be in the future.
But would you have interest to stay on after your term as trustee is ended?
Let's put you in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Do I have to answer that right now?
No.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking, if you're one person that has skills.
Let's see, I'm retiring
Okay.
because I wanna spend more time, and now I'm gonna do 2, she's already doing 3 jobs, but I'm not trying to discourage you.
Probably not, let me
Yes.
be perfectly
Yes,
honest.
Gary.
Probably
Yeah, that's
not.
fine. I shouldn't approach.
Okay, I
Yes.
didn't put you on the spot.
Question. What is the specific date that the 2 terms expire?
It's March 1st.
One suggestion regarding the resolution you have in front of you, where you get to the be it resolved paragraph,
Okay.
I would recommend that you read be it resolved that and add effective March 1, 2020. Then continue, the Highland Board of Trustees establishes a membership of 7. So that would allow, if the resolution were to be passed, it would allow it to be implemented by simply not filling the 2 vacancies that will occur on that date. Otherwise, you're in a posture of having to remove 2 members,
Oh, immediately.
and
Right.
I don't think you want to go there. I don't want you to go there,
We don't want to go there.
so,
You could say it to be at least 7 members.
I'm sorry?
Could you also say it Because consist of at least 7 members.
No,
No?
I don't recommend that.
Okay.
It should be a definite number.
Right now, it's at least 9, sometimes. That's the problem with that kind of a statement. Okay, where was that at, Gary, that you were looking at to add that?
In the resolve paragraph, after the fourth word, which says that, so in other words, would be it resolved that, and then add, effective March 1, 2020.
The Highland Township Board establishes a membership of the
Yeah.
planning commission, okay.
And I apologize, because I reviewed this with Beth, and that, right over my head. Sorry.
We'll keep you.
All right, now the question is, did I,
You made
Make
a
a motion.
motion.
I
There's no
supported.
second yet.
There's no support yet, so, then I'll add to the motion the, language that Gary recommended. That,
What does that do to the terms coming up then? Will we have a lot of people expiring at the same time in the future? Because isn't it like?
no, they stagger through the process.
Every other year, or how does it?
Every
stagger?
couple of years, it's like every 2 years,
So there's only 2 this year?
yeah.
Okay. I mean,
So you keep- so you keep the
I might
history.
think about the fact that,
Keep the experience, and then you have, yeah.
that if we do this and move it to 7, we have a year then to see if in fact we could find any additional candidates that we might even want to get back to 9 for any reason. If we can't develop a list of candidates in a year to even think about moving back to 9, then there's no sense in even looking for 9.
Well, that's
Just
kind
making
of
a
where I'm
comment.
going, is this,
Well, I know,
I'm telling
I'm
you,
just
that
saying,
it
For those
it
that
comes
are
up.
proponents of 9, I'm just saying we're having a difficult problem getting to 9. So I'm saying if we support the 7, and we can't find a list of candidates in a year to, or whenever the next expirations are coming up, to change it to 9, then why are we gonna even think about 9?
Well, I'm recommending we change it to 7, I'm not recommending we do 7 and think about 9, we do 7 and move forward and make it work, that's the point of view, and it's still way easier to find 7 people to do the job than it is 9. And, that's just my suggestion, that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm the one that has to go find them, I'm the one that has to make the recommendations.
Understand.
And, he said, I have time frames that I have to do it within, and the other part of it is you wanna make sure that those people you have on that planning commission are the ones you want on there, not that the public wants on there. It's to the benefit of the public as much as anything, cause the public is the township. And so you want them there making decisions that are in the scope or in the desires of what the community has stated to its elected officials. And that's what we need to be at. And right now, we're good with that, except we don't have continuity of in fact, we have, I'd say it's poor continuity. Nobody's gotten real stinky with it because it is so hard to find people to replace it.
Understand.
And every time I've thought about, well, I should go and approach so-and-so and say, hey, I think I'm gonna ask you to, step down and replace you. I go, man, who am I gonna replace them with? I gotta find somebody first, and then you gotta go through, once you find somebody, then you gotta go and make the action to ask somebody to step down, because you're asking them because they're not, quote, truly fulfilling their duties. And their duties are, when you make your oath, you make an oath to show up too. I mean, that's part of it.
Have we ever placed an ad or something and asked people to come forward and put it out on newspapers and website and stuff?
Yep, we have done that.
Okay, that was my question earlier.
I've never seen it on the website or the email blast.
Haven't done it in a couple of years because we've had a full planning commission. Haven't had to, but, like I said, Jeff Stander's one that, he's not showing up because he can't. His job's not letting him. And, so his opinion is if you can find somebody else, then find somebody else. If not, he'll still come in part-time, but,
One clarifying thing too, I'd like to say is that, you know, the 9 of us on the planning commission, I think we have really good discussions. I mean, it's an open conversation, there's nobody that dominates the, you know, I mean, there's some people that talk longer than others, but nobody really
I was gonna
dominates.
say there's
Everybody
what?
feels as though their 2 cents counts, don't you think, Mary Beth? I mean, it's a good board, you know, it's not that,
That's nice.
it's totally dysfunctional.
no, it's not
Absolutely.
dysfunctional. And that's not the statement I'm making either. It's that I have a requirement that, you know, from my position, that if you're gonna put somebody in a position, they should follow through with what they agreed they would do. And, said I have to do it.
You're right on one point, because the more people there is, the less responsibility each person has. So it's almost kind of watered down, so I can see where you're coming from. With 7, you have more responsibility to be there. If that's the main problem,
So,
I get it.
all right, well,
We need a second.
we need a second.
Support.
Okay, it's been supported, and, guess we'll have a vote, we'll find out.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
No.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Scott, thanks for your input, though.
That's very helpful.
Appreciate it. You never know, it'll take up the longest amount of time. But it's good discussion, I appreciate it. Okay, item D, 9D. Tammy, you want to,
Yeah, this just fills in some detail on the previous letter that we had signed to explain the scope of what the work they are going to propose to do to help with our year end. And so it's just a little more, when we signed our original letter earlier in the year, we didn't have our brains around exactly what, everything that needed to be done. So this just fills it in a little bit more.
let's go.
this is to help prevent, what do they call that statement? Significant deficiency or something like
Right.
that. Whenever the auditors assist our bookkeepers, they have the ability to be able to declare that a significant deficiency.
They're required to now.
And they're required by law to report that. So helping a bookkeeper by saying, hey, maybe you should have done this, or manually went in and changed it for us, because we didn't maybe understand that completely. It's, auditing is and bookkeeping with the municipality is pretty significantly different than small business or even medium to large, some of the large businesses. So what happens is that goes to the state level as public information. If somebody told you, hey, there's a significant deficiency in your, the way you've kept your books. That sounds horrible. Ironically, means little to nothing. But it goes to the public and it says, and it could affect, maybe things like, I don't know if it actually can affect
Like bonding.
bonding and those types of things. When they're looking, what's your bond rating, it can be affected by things like significant deficiency. So the auditors have developed a kind of I would say another wing, so to speak, where they're not actually on our audit team. They're another team, and they can help us beforehand to make sure we're educated or do the, some of the changes that need to be made because of new laws and that. So that's what this is about, is adding that to it. It costs a few more dollars, but it's one of those things where it really is of value, because we won't have that type of thing that could affect us moving forward. The fire department is going to be in a position to be bonding here fairly soon to pay for the fire halls. We don't want to have a significant deficiency or two or three to cause an issue where it could make the interest rates higher, or make it so somebody might not want to buy the bonds. And it's ironic, but sometimes that's how it works. So it's kind of it's a way it affects our credit report.
We-
Do
Do you have
they-
an idea of the cost? Oh, well, I know that's the hourly, but
How many hours will they work?
I think they'll designate hours to each individual things after approval. That was kind of the,
So we may or may not use them,
well, we have things that we've never had before.
okay.
The one is the transferring of the water,
Okay, I remember that.
so we have to put the water fund on our books
Right.
this year.
Yeah.
We have to move transportation from our bus fund to the WODA authority. That's something that we've never done before. The GASB 84, we're implementing new accounting standards that we've never had to do before, and our auditors can't, because of the new GASBs, our auditors can't help us anymore. Where in the past, they've just helped us. Now it's viewed as they're helping to, it's viewed as they're skewing the audit. So that's why we have to have this separate.
Right, I understand. So we don't know, they don't have an idea how many hours it may take
So,
to do this.
I mean, we're talking year end, maybe a couple thousand at the most, as far as dollars, not hours.
Not significant.
Right.
Not hundreds of thousands.
Right, it's
No.
well within our budget for professional
Okay.
services.
All right.
You know,
Okay, understand.
this being the first time,
We'll find
it's
out.
hard to say, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't know, and we can't ask them to define that when they don't know what they're gonna do.
Right, they don't know what they're gonna get
Exactly.
into when they get into it.
Okay,
When we discussed it with them, the anticipation would have been less than what the board policy would require board approval on anyway, so.
it's kinda like hiring a legal counsel, we never really know
Right.
what's gonna happen until he gets into it.
Right. Right.
He just said with a smile on his face.
I'm not sure how that came across here, Gary. So anyway,
Well,
It's a new year.
It's
First-
probably
first salvo.
deserved.
Shaboom.
So we probably can have a motion.
I would move to approve the temporary finance assistance addendum to Plant Moran
Support.
engagement letter.
okay, moved and supported, vote please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
yes,
Yes.
Yes,
Motion carries.
okay, item 10E. That's 111 here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the hiring of Justin Lato as a part-time communication specialist for the Highland Activity Center, and to start employment on February 6, 2020 at a rate of $13 per hour for 25 hours on average and not to exceed 29 hours per week.
Support.
Questions? Oh, okay.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion, yeah.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported.
Questions or? Question about this, so this is a new 25-hour position that's gonna be at the seniors, or the
Right.
center there. Is that in their budget that this is being
Yes.
covered in their budget?
Yes.
Okay.
She had requested it as part of the budget process, and now she's got her candidate she wants to hire, so.
All right, so moved and supported, the vote please.
I vote yes.
yes,
no,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, next item, I'd like to make a motion to approve the hiring of, can't remember the guy's name. Seems everybody else knows him, so, the hiring of James Demko as our part-time maintenance employee, to start employment as soon as January 8th, as soon as, that's assuming that, he's ready to rock and roll. 2020 at a rate of $17.50 per hour, not to exceed 29 hours per week.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported?
question.
Yes.
I thought we weren't gonna fill that position because we hired 2 moms and a mop in December to do the janitorial service.
He's not doing the janitorial service. He's doing all the maintenance stuff that Mark did and,
Well, that's what Mark did, he was janitor and.
yeah, well, he'll be doing some in between. But there's no way we could get by without, I mean, two moms and a mop come in twice
They're
a
coming in
week.
twice a week, yeah, just 2 times a week.
Waste baskets fill up every day. There's stuff that needs to be taken out of the trash. There's two
One
moms
day
and a
there was
mop. They
ice
don't
all
do
over the place.
windows.
I was
There's
shoveling out in front, yeah.
snow shovel. You know, there's the stuff that we had Trevor here for. Trevor's no longer with us, so.
So they do 2 days a week, and how many hours do they do? The two moms and the mom? They just,
They come in and,
is it
in
They
the
just
dark.
do the
Yeah.
cleaning.
Okay.
yeah, they just
Yeah, it's
floors
clean.
and dusting and bathrooms.
One heavy cleaning, one.
Okay,
light
so that was a motion, and
Wait, we have a second.
we do have a support? Okay, so,
cleaning. Yeah, I
vote
supported
please.
that.
Comment that, since he's a qualified Navy veteran, I know that we will not have any issues with him. Or else he'll pay the price.
Okay, vote please.
Okay. Mr. Savia?
Yes?
No.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So I'd like to introduce our new maintenance person, James Demko, and his wife, Lori, AKA Dolores, or Dolores, AKA Lori, both graduates from Milford High School.
oh, awesome.
James worked for Pneumatics until they closed. And one of the things that when we did our interviews was, and I teased him earlier about this, is we were sitting in this room and Mark Owak, our previous maintenance guy, was a meticulous person. So I kept thinking we need to get somebody that can see the details. And he's sitting there and he's looking over there and he goes, "Who does your windows?" And I went,
Oh,
"There's somebody looking past."
windows.
So,
A good teacher.
so anyways, it's not the only reason. It's because you had the enthusiasm that and the ability to understand where we were going with this, and also a longtime resident, and you got enough eyes on you that know you that I can feel confident will. It's a good move. So
One of the Navy characteristics is swabbing the deck, so that stays with you, right?
I just want to say thank you for accepting my application.
well, you're welcome, and thanks for taking on this opportunity. So as soon as you're ready to get started, we'll get you rolling and show you all the things that are involved in that. So
You now have at least 20 bosses. Oh,
what's that?
you now have at least 20 bosses.
Yeah.
Can we just clarify in case it's not clear to everyone? So, in the beginning, we had Mark and Trevor
We had
doing
two people.
maintenance. And then Mark retired and we went with Trevor for a while, just him. And Trevor's not with us anymore. So now we have a cleaning service plus Mr. Demko now.
Right.
Yeah.
And what happens on a regular basis is in between the heavy cleans, wintertime, fall, leaves blow in the doors, like I said, spot stuff on the snow shoveling. There's items at all the parks that need to be looked at and watched over. For example, had a constituent come in last week and said, "Hey, I don't know if you know it or not, but the trash cans at the Duck Lake Park are overflowing." And I went, "Oh yeah, we don't have somebody to do that right now." So my wife and I did it, and they were overflowing, and it's one of the things that when you have somebody that does that behind the scenes maintenance and looks after stuff, that's how those things happen. So we can't expect all the people in the building to go out and do little individual jobs to make up for something we've had somebody doing for years, and so it's a needed fill, and we appreciate it. So on that note, you don't have to stay through the rest of the meeting if you don't want to. I just wanted the board to meet you, and I appreciate it. So thanks for coming, and thanks for taking us on.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome aboard. We always have coffee in the station.
Well, that's good.
Except for the cops.
All right, so the next item is approve the hiring of Jessica Hines as part-time administrative assistant for fire department. Chief, I'm going to toss that in your department.
Letter says it all. We had over 130 applicants. First off, I'd like to thank the township staff that helped vet them down from the 130 plus to 12, and then the township staff that helped us vet it from 12 down to the top 3, and of course, Ms. Cooper for helping us interview the final 3. Jessica this says the letter, she lives locally, just in Heartland. She had impressive background, work history, she spent 13 years in the U.S. Army, where she performed many of the tasks while serving her country. I think she'd be a great asset to us, and I'd like to recommend her, pending her background, her approval.
I would move to approve hiring of Jessica Heinz as the part-time administrative assistant for the fire department.
Support.
Moved and supported.
There's a
Yes, ma'am.
question. I didn't see in the letter here, so I was just wondering, or maybe I missed that, how many hours and the pay?
20 hours a week, $15 an hour.
Okay, thank you.
We'll add that to the motion. Or,
Yeah, we better add that to the
and who
motion.
supported?
Joe did.
Joe,
It's all right to add that to the motion, Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
And could I ask what they're gonna be doing?
They'll be doing a lot of the administrative tasks for the fire marshal and the fire department, uploading a lot of our paper files to a digital format, setting up Excel spreadsheets for rental inspection program, as well as community inspections, and a lot of the clerical tasks that would free Sean up to do more
20.
inspections.
All right,
ready to vote?
we're ready to vote.
Mrs. McDonald?
No.
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, 9H, approve firefighter physicals through BioCare. Anything we need to know about that, Chief?
Same company we've had for the last at least 4 years. I just finally got the quote in the other day. It's $8,900 for up to 28 individuals. We're usually about 70% of the staff show up for physicals, so it'll be a little bit less than that.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the hiring of BioCare for physicals for firefighters in an amount not to exceed $9,500.
Support. Question? When you say 70% show up, is that a mandatory thing?
It's not mandatory, it's highly recommended.
Well, highly recommended and mandatory, what does that mean?
Highly recommended. I can't force them to come in unless I'm gonna pay them.
Okay.
NFPA and OSHA, they recommend that you do annual physicals for firefighters. This is a NFPA 1582 compliant physical. I can lead them to the water, but I can't make them drink.
Do they have to get their own physical from a private physician, or is it a requirement, is the question?
It is not a requirement.
It's not a.
It's recommendation. It's highly
Got it.
recommended.
All right, thank you. Compliant means, that's confusing me.
Okay, so we need a vote on that.
Mm-hmm. Ready to vote? Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, next item, 9I, upgrade EMS agency licensure to ALS, Advanced Life Support. Chief?
Last year in January, we made a presentation to the board, Lieutenant Bonham and I, regarding the upcoming trends and needs for the future. We're currently at that point. I arrived in 2016. 2017, we transported 6 patients. 2018, we transported 12. 2019, we're at 70, or we were at 71, 72, somewhere in that ballpark. And the numbers are going to continue to grow. There's a national shortage, in, like we said in January, national shortage for EMS workers. We can't rely on the private ambulance to be able to provide the service that we have all these years. They just don't have the staff. Their run volumes are increasing. Last year, our total run volume was 1,477 runs. Those were only the ones that we claimed, that we accepted. We do a lot of burning complaints, and stuff like that we don't even turn a number for. Our run volume's increasing, their run numbers are increasing. They can't provide the service like they have in the years past. This is a Band-Aid. We're nowhere near ready to be able to provide ALS services specifically for the community. We don't have the staff, we don't have the budget, we don't have the trends to show it. By allowing us the ability to upgrade potentially using the Bennett bill through the State of Michigan EMS Act, that gives us a 2-year window to put together a platform or a workable system to provide ALS care for our community 24/7. And that's what we're asking to do is we want to engage or prepare for what's going to happen.
Okay, I'll add some stuff to the chief's comments there. Don't get nervous. One of the things that came up as a topic at one of our meetings, monthly meetings we have with supervisors from Oakland County, was exactly this scenario. And what is happening is the private ambulance services right now, or up until recently, they basically run out of Highland's fire station. But what they're doing now is they have computer-based systems that say, where's the best place for you to park your ambulance? Because on this hour, on these days, it's more likely to have requirement to be in this area than it is in another area. So they're taking data in terms of runs, and they're saying, you will park your ambulance over here at this gas station. Well, essentially what's kind of happening is they're moving their ambulances more towards Pontiac. And so if we have an emergency here, they have to come from Pontiac now to be there first. And what's happening is the police are quite often there first, then our EMTs are there, and then the ambulance shows up. So the critical component of this is the faster you get to a scene with critical care, the more likely that you're going to have success in terms of the individual that you're there to care for. So by allowing for us to be able to move up into the ALS operations, we're sure that we can be the first and be the ones that have the level of care and not have to sit there and maybe stop some bleeding or some serious stuff, but actually do the things that you would do that would be ambulatory to get them to the hospital. So it's like a hospital on wheels, emergency room on wheels versus we're going to throw you in the back of the pickup truck and we're going to duct tape it shut and we'll get you there. Not saying you guys do that, but I mean, that's kind of the in a rough form, that's the idea. So the conversation that we had was with a company out of the Thumb and up towards Flint and Genesee County, and they're talking about how hard it is to get people to be certified. And so they have to have their own program where they certify their own people. So it's an indicator that it's difficult, but how important it is to have these certified people. So this is in support of what the chief is trying to get at. We have a population of nearly 20,000 people here, and you want to make sure that we're giving the service that is the best for that 20,000 people. If we had a population of 4,000, it'd be kind of hard to justify probably the expenditures that might come over time, but these are recoverable.
Yes.
Because as ALS, you get to be able to recover that through capturing through insurance companies and that to help pay for that process. So I think that this is one of those ideas that, like you said, that you presented us well over a year ago at one of the meetings of heading this direction, and I think that in support of that, I think it's something we probably should look at, because it really does help support the whole system, not just, it helps support the private industry as well, because they're there to kind of help each other out, but we know that we're gonna get to our people sooner with the better level of care, so.
This isn't just Star is an amazing company. I'm very happy with the service they've provided us up to this point. This is, again, a national issue. There was just an article in the paper, M Live, about a guy that was injured on a bicycle in Ann Arbor, where they don't have ambulances in their fire department. They waited 45 minutes for an ambulance to get there, and the guy finally called an Uber. Firefighters helped him into the Uber. Uber took him to the hospital. He got treated. It's not just what we're experiencing, it's all over.
Right, so,
So we're asking for a letter of commitment from the township,
correct.
and then you have to demonstrate achievable model.
Yes.
What's the cost involved with doing that? Do we have any idea yet, or?
It will be in the couple items down where we're asking for an amendment to the current budget.
Okay.
Upgrade the disposable supplies. It's approximately $1,500 to $2,000 for the disposable EMS supplies to upgrade to ALS. Yes. And then the monitors are the big expense.
What's the cost for the insurance change?
No
Because
cost for insurance. Michigan Municipal League does not charge any difference whether you're ALS or BLS.
I didn't think that was true.
I can forward you the email from Amy.
I would like that.
I can do that.
All right, so, I'd like to make a motion, that we, upgrade our EMS agency licensure to ALS and write a letter of commitment, from the township, to support that.
Support.
Just to add to that, it still has to go to OCMCA, who we make the presentation in front of them, and then it goes to the state board. This is approximately a 90 to 120 day process. But it's 90 to 120 day process to upgrade using the Bennett bill, and then you still have to show them the 2-year process and that it's a workable program.
Would there be an occasion where other communities might use our ambulance, and would we be reimbursed for that time?
There are options. We currently use, when we don't have a ALS rig from Star. In fact, just the other night, James was on duty and he called North Oakland to get their ALS rig. There is possibility that with the inavailability of ambulances, that White Lake could use us or Milford could use us.
So we'd have some income flowing from
Correct.
sharing our service. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Reciprocity too.
All right, so that was a motion,
I supported that.
okay, supported, vote please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item. Chief, I'll let you take that one.
This kind of goes along with the upgrade to our capabilities from BLS to ALS. Currently, we have one person that we've invested a lot of money in. He's made his way through the ranks in our department, that is currently seeking an outside Star EMS gainful employment. Good probability if he gets hired that we would lose him. He covers a lot of our day shifts. That would put us in a tough spot because that is the shift that we have the most trouble covering is day shifts. So over the past, we also have 3 that just graduated, 1 more that will be graduating in March from paramedic school that are also looking for outside employment. We're gonna lose them as well. They're a guarantee that we're gonna lose them. That's gonna put us in dire straits for day shift. As I told you last year, we transported 71 or more. I expect even a higher number this year. I don't wanna wait until we're at a point that we're caught in a bad spot where we can't provide a service to our community. last month, I looked at our budget. We made some adjustments to it, and with the next agenda item, adjustments to our 2020 budget, we had the ability to offer the full-time safety and recruitment officer to Lieutenant Bonham, and then hire a firefighter paramedic from one of our recent, or one of our current paramedics in the department. And this will help us provide the service to the community as well as improve the service that we're currently providing now. Right now, we have 2 people on duty 24/7. Provide an additional third person Monday through Friday. This will provide 3 people 24/7, up to 3 people 24/7. We have a lot of time. We occasionally have a hard time covering both shifts, so multiple emails are being sent out, trying to get staff to fill the roles. Goes along lines with your 9 to 7 people on the planning commission. It's getting harder and harder to find people that are able to commit time to a system like this. You guys are having problems, we're having problems. In the 90s, we had waiting lists. We don't have waiting lists anymore.
Okay, so basically what you're asking for is for Gary Bonham to be made fire captain,
Fire captain and a
safety
full-time-
and recruitment officer.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we appoint, I guess that would be an appointment, that we appoint Gary Bonham to fire captain and safety and recruitment officer. Is there anything else you want on that, or is that that does an adequate job of describing that position?
It's a full-time position.
Full-time position.
And we'll have 3 full-time, no, just go with you, what you requested.
And then the pay rate would be as attached, or as presented.
As presented in the
Attachment.
attachments.
Right.
Which one
So
is he?
next page after
Next page
the
is
memo.
So he's fire captain. Which one of the,
24-hour officer medic.
So that's the top line.
Yes.
okay.
All right, I made a motion.
Motion to support. as
Okay,
presented.
support. Vote, please.
I vote yes.
Yes,
No,
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item, approve new fire department position, firefighter, paramedic, and this one is position to be named. So Chief, you wanna do a description on this one?
Again, this is to bring people from within our department, appoint them to a full-time position. We currently have 3 paid-on-call paramedics, and then we have 3 that have just graduated paramedic school. It would be a condition of employment to get the national registry and get their EMS license at paramedic level by April 1st of 2020. But I would like to select one of the 6 candidates that are eligible currently within our department.
So you're gonna do your whole hiring process, or I shouldn't say hiring, but
We're gonna do a
advancement.
selection process based on officers' recommendations. For the process, do we do an assessment panel, do we do interviews? They've worked with them a lot longer than I have. I'm gonna take their input to make the selection. But they're already a current employee, so it's not, we're hiring from outside, these are people we've already hired in the department.
Right.
They're just gonna be appointed to a full-time position.
So as this affects the availability of shifts for the other members of the crew to be able to take, it's my understanding that there'll be additional opportunities for those people to earn income through the inspections program.
There's that option, as well as, the next step will be, approval of this position, we're gonna have 3 full-time employees working 24-hour shifts. So every day you'll have 1 full-time firefighter or fire captain working a 24-hour shift. They'll work a California schedule or a 24-hour cycle. I would just confuse you if I explained it to you.
Please don't.
No, we've
We'll
been
still
down that
have
road. It's like,
a 40-hour float fire captain who is an EMT basic, which is why we didn't put him up into the 24-hour rank. He's gonna fulfill the role Monday through Friday to allow for that 3rd position. We'll have 1 paid on-call position during the days when we have our toughest time, filling shifts, and then we'll have 2 paid on-call shifts at night. So we'll have 3 people on duty at night, 3 people on duty in the day, and all this time and turmoil was put into crunching numbers and trying to figure out how to make this work to have the least negative impact on our staff. We don't have any problems generally covering night shifts. By putting a firefighter paramedic on a 24-hour shift and putting the fire captain on the swing shift Monday through Friday when we're doing most of our transports, that allowed the night shifts to be covered by the senior employees. This was presented through the officers, through the chiefs, then through the officers. As it was brought down to the ranks, this was the most favorable of the options. The least favorable of the options was not to do anything and just get caught in a pickle or in a bind. We have to do something operationally.
I have one other different direction. When Star is, as they're consolidating down towards the more populated areas, are they gonna stop using our station as a sleeping?
I did meet with their operations manager. I kind of explained to him that if the board approved the Bennett bill and the upgrade to ALS, that once the stations were built, that will be the time frame that we look at taking over our own EMS. During this conversation, I said, however, if you are still providing a service because it doesn't look like White Lake's doing anything, I shouldn't throw them under the bus, but it doesn't look like they're making any progress that way. I said, instead of having these guys sit in a ambulance in a gas station, we'll have Station 2 that will be on the west side of the township. That I'd have no problem housing their ambulance there, because that provides a service for us. If we get overwhelmed, we can rely on Star, we can rely on North Oakland, we can rely on other agencies to assist in our time of need. And it also keeps them local for our community, or for their needs as far as deployments.
But it's a financial decision Star's making to put their ambulances closer to the business. So when you bring in our own ambulances, that's gonna push them even farther away, right?
Currently, we're not gonna change our operational transport methodology. Our staff has become reliant on Star EMS to provide EMS to the community. It's allowed our skills to lessen. As we're building them up again, as of January, we started doing all BLS transports Monday through Friday. We're not taking away their ALS runs, we're making their ALS rig available for a true ALS emergency inside the community or in a neighboring community. Will it push them away? It may, but I don't think it's gonna be a matter
What's
of.
the profitability? They're a private company out for profit, right? They're not gonna be here if they're not, they're gonna go where the money makes the most sense for them, right?
Well, the key issue is they're not here as it is.
Maybe not. Yeah, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying
And we've
That's
been
one of the
prepared for
consequences
what
of
happens
doing
if they're not able to provide that service anymore to us at all.
how do you, so you said that's reimbursable, so the township would charge the insurance company for those runs, is that how that works?
Yes, you get an ambulance bill just like you would through a private company.
And we currently do that today?
Yes.
So we already have the infrastructure, the billing, we know how to do that, we know how to do the collections, we have all those.
It's actually done through a third-party vendor, Acumen out of Brownstown. We're currently looking at transitioning over to having Star provide that service for us. Billing service.
Sorry if I interrupted your meeting.
I didn't stop you. It was a good question.
So, as it stands, I don't think we have a motion yet on this one.
I'm trying to figure out how to craft a motion for a position. I guess, I'll try this, Gary, interrupt me if you find a better way to do it. I'd like to make a motion to, develop a position of firefighter paramedic, and that's gonna be a full-time position
Yes, sir.
at a pay rate, that's like on that chart
It's attached.
that's attached, so that'd be the 24-hour EMTB.
No, that would be the paramedic.
Oh, 24-hour FF medic,
Yes.
okay,
Now, if it's one of the candidates that has not achieved their licensure, they'd start out at the FF basic rate,
Got it.
and if they did not achieve their medic licensure by the 1st of January, or the 1st of April, they would, no longer be employed.
okay. I'm not sure I said everything at this
I
point.
was gonna say, did you finish it?
To create the position full-time, you establish the pay and authorize the fire chief to hire a person to fill that position as soon as, what date?
So you would bring that candidate to the next board meeting for approval.
I would hope that they're already hired. I would hope that you would
Take an
swear them
existing,
in at the next board
existing
meeting.
candidate.
But I would like to get them on 24-hour schedules on the 20th.
For promotion. At the February
No,
3rd,
it's not a new hire, it's a, at this moment, it's a,
it's a
Right,
promotion.
It's not a new hire, it's just a reassignment of position.
okay. All right.
Except it goes from
Part-time to
On-
full-time.
time or part-time to full-time.
Okay, so I think we have a motion.
Did somebody
All right.
support?
Support? No.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported, vote please.
Mr. Salvia?
Yes,
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, the next item is, the budget amendment for fire capital. Ooh, I guess I better get it in gear here, forgot about this.
So the budget amendment that Amy prepared with working together with Ken is a little bit more complicated than a lot of what we normally see. There's a lot of lines that are being increased, there's some lines being decreased, and then there's a revenue line being increased. So basically, what Rick's gonna pull up, I did a summary for the operating fund of what the net effect of all these different lines come to. And it's a net effect of an increase of expenditure of $34,436. The budget that we approved for 2020 for the fire operating fund had a surplus of $37,940. So these increased expenditures is less than the surplus that had been budgeted, and there's a remaining surplus of $3,504. So that's why we don't have a line there for appropriating fund balance, because as it stands, we're not projecting to draw from fund balance.
And what's the second budget amendment in there?
And that's for the upgrading of equipment for the ambulances to cover the ALS.
For monitors. For heart monitors. Heart monitors, right, cardiac monitors, sorry.
Does that make sense?
yeah, so it's washed out in the surplus in a sense.
Just using up most of the surplus.
That's not the same as the thing we have in our packet.
No, it's the number, all the lines are the same. Those three summary lines there I added to provide additional information. There was no changes to the budget amendment to to what was put in the packet.
So you're saying the difference between the 16 and the 51 is the 34, right? The net effect?
The what?
And the 16 and the 51 is the net effect of the lines amended is 34.
No, that's fire capital
Okay.
below. So this part is on the capital fund.
Okay.
This part is the operating fund. And then what I put in between here is just, I kind of summed all those numbers right there.
Okay.
Just to touch on the capital fund a little, if I may, that was initially designed, when we requested it, was to provide construction of the 2 stations, an apparatus replacement system, as well as large-scale capital equipment purchases. Last year, we purchased the Jaws of Life combi tools. This year, the initial intention was to buy air bottles for our SCBA's. We're good for another year on that. But with the pending possibilities of needing to provide better EMS care, provide ALS care to our patients when STAR is not available, I'm asking for it to come out of the capital budget.
I would move to approve the budget amendment as presented.
I'll second. Vote, please.
Mrs. McDonald?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next item, I'd like to move that we go into closed session to discuss a confidential township attorney opinion correspondence regarding agreement for maintenance and operation of Hickory Ridge Pines Park soccer fields.
Support.
Moved and supported.
Does anyone have anything for anything else on our agenda?
Nothing else on the agenda.
Okay.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so, all those that don't want to hang out here to have us come out and tell you there's nothing we can tell you, this is your opportunity to run, so, all right.
As always, if anybody has any questions about any of it was kind of compressed explanation of what the changes are gonna be, but if you have any questions on it, don't hesitate to call me, I'm always available.
Okay, we're back in session at 8:51. I'd like a motion to postpone open session item agreements for maintenance and operation of Hickory Ridge Pines Park soccer fields until our next regular board meeting in February.
You're making
So
a
moved.
motion?
Yes,
I'm supported then.
Okay.
moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.